So yeah, I mean, just it's relentless. It's not exactly happy news. There's been lots of shoes dropping. Before we get into some sort of specifics here, just give us a sense. Like, what is the sentiment from your perch there amongst regulators, amongst lawmakers, and others as they look upon this, contagion and this rather wild story as it pertains to crypto and regulating it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough past couple of weeks for the entire digital asset industry, and Washington and our policymakers, regulators, they're definitely paying attention, and they have a lot of concerns. I mean, who wouldn't? You've seen billions of dollars of market cap disappear. We've seen customer funds been halted, customers completely unable to access their funds on multiple platforms. So there's certainly cause for concern. In terms of what we can see from policymakers, what's going to happen in Washington? Well, I agree with a lot of the comments Mark said. We don't necessarily see anything happening fast. Congress isn't known to act fast when it comes to blockchain technology and digital assets. There's a lot of things that were already underway. So I've said for many, many months now that we are in a time period, as point in the blockchain technology industry, that's where policy is front and center. There's a number of debates that are underway that are going to set the regulatory frameworks for companies to build on blockchains for decades to come. So there's debates around what is stablecoin regulatory frameworks going to look like? Where is the CFTC and the SEC's jurisdiction going to play in the future? Is Congress going to change that? There's multiple legislative proposals underway that addresses that aspect. There's significant actions underway at the IRS regarding tax policy. So I think the recent activities, the recent market downturn certainly will put some heat under these conversations. It may speed them up some, but I don't think it necessarily changes the dynamic significantly. There are going to be multiple hearings in the House Financial Services Committee this month, within the next couple of weeks. I think we can expect there'll be multiple members of that committee that inquire about some of these recent issues. But beyond that, the legislative proposals that are already underway, the Lummis-Gillibrand bills, stablecoin initiatives, I think those are going to continue moving forward.
Okay, well, we'll see. Lots to sort of to work through there. Obviously, one bit of news that came out last week was the disapproval of at least a couple of the most recent round of ETF proposals. Grayscale, which is owned by CoinDesk's parent company DCG, Bitwise, others. What is the where does it go from here? I mean, people were kind of banking maybe on this being, after all of this long period, the attempts to get an ETF approved have run into this to get this done. So, where does it go from here?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly disappointing that the SEC rejected both the Bitwise and the Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF applications. Since 2013, there's been 16 issuers, including some of the largest and the most respected names in the asset industry that have filed for spot Bitcoin ETF applications, and they've all been denied. The Bitcoin market has been greatly institutionalized in recent years. There's been rigorous research that's been conducted to address the SEC's fears about market manipulation. I believe the industry has addressed these in a comprehensive way, and the fact that the SEC continues to deny every application for a spot Bitcoin ETF since 2013, it really baffles me. You ask where it's going. Well, you mentioned Grayscale. They're obviously going into litigation with the SEC. Litigation's never good. I mean, it's incredibly expensive, both for it will be very expensive for Grayscale to do this. It's going to be expensive for the taxpayers as well. This isn't good for the SEC. This isn't good for the industry, but it's not surprising where we are given the industry's been completely stonewalled. I do think the SEC has been acting arbitrary and capricious towards the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF, especially now that we have a futures Bitcoin ETF. It doesn't make sense that this is, we continue to get stonewalled. So it's not surprising that it's going to litigation. So this is going to the courts, and ultimately the courts are going to decide. And hopefully, I do believe we will see a spot Bitcoin ETF. I think it's a win, not an if issue. But it is really disappointing that it's gotten to this point that companies are having to go to litigation just to bring something as simple as exchange traded products to the market.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a very, very long ride, and I suppose it's just interesting to wonder whether it would have been different if it not had occurred in the midst of all of this sort of market conniption at the time, which it must have had some sort of impact on things. Anyway, we'll see how it all plays out. Certainly lots to keep your eye on. It's going to keep you very busy, as always, Perianne.